Hey everybody, Vince Dowd, and today we are going to talk about what is consciousness. Consciousness is very interesting because everybody has consciousness flowing within them, but most people have become distracted. So we're going to dive deep. We're going to get into this. And if you're watching from my Facebook account, please make sure you, if there's a link up there, click the link for StreamYard so I can identify you. It's also being broadcast on YouTube. And we're going to talk about this. I'm going to give you 3 things you can do before we're done that will help you to expand your consciousness. So we're going to get right into it. Well, welcome back. And if you're coming on, I would love for you, absolutely adore, if you would make sure you shout out to me and say hello. And you can do that by just going below and typing hello or hit the wow face. That way I know you're watching. And if you are watching, I know it's 9 a.m. here Eastern time in Florida. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. And this training is going to be one where I really seek your engagement, because the more you engage, the more you'll learn. And the more I can also make sure I'm connecting with you and that you're following me on the process. So this is something on my journey that I've been looking for. From the time I was young, I always wanted to understand who I am and how we fit into this world, into this universe. And so what I did is I went on this journey, and it took me through many things, from religions, which I was multiple religions, looking for truth in a dogmatic understanding of the way that I guess they interpret God into a definition that helps humans to digest it. But it didn't work for me. I thought it was, but I found that a lot of the religions are fear-based. And I didn't know what that meant until I started to realize in my own journey that I was very much doing what I did based on fear of not doing the right thing. It's almost like punishment with your parents. And that wasn't the way I wanted to show up. So I, at 28, really went on a journey, and I just basically cried out to whatever it is, the divine. And I said, please lead me on an expedition of truth, whatever that means. And whatever books, whatever seminars, whatever I have to see or understand, let me go there. It's been a wonderful journey, and I wanted to share it with you. So I know some of you are going to come on because it's different times, and you might watch this on replay. So if you're watching on replay, please hit hashtag authentic elevation, and I can interact with you that way. So the first question I want to ask you is this: who are you? Who are you? So if you close your eyes for a moment, if you're somewhere where you can do this, obviously if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're somewhere where you can just take a moment and go inside yourself and ask yourself the question, who are you? Now, this was a question asked of me, probably over 20 some years ago. And I remember when I closed my eyes, and Luis, one of my mentors, who's a very amazing man, asked, who are you? And as I began to scan my body, and I encourage you to do the same, go inside yourself and ask yourself, who am I? It's amazing how many people have never asked that question. We just show up on this planet and we just look outward and we start to manipulate our lives and the environment around us, but we never really ask who we are. So close your eyes and just ask yourself, who am I? And as I have you ask that question, I want you to see if you get an answer. The answer that I came up with at the time was, well, I'm Vince. And you know what he said to me? He goes, that's your name. That's not who you are. I said, okay, well, I'm a man and I'm 20 some years old. He goes, that defines your body. That is not who you are. And so he began to really push me to understand that what I believed and what I thought is not who I am. So one of the big challenges humanity has is they don't know who they are. And we cannot really resolve our issues in this world until we resolve our understanding to understand exactly who we are. In the grand scheme of things, who are you? So as I dug deeper, I kept trying to label myself as, well, I'm a business owner, I'm a speaker, I'm a son, and I'm a father, and whatever. All these things are labels. They are identities, but they are not who you are. So if you ask the question and you came up with something similar that I did, labeling yourself as all these roles that you play, that means that you've really anchored yourself and identified yourself with something that is not you. And so I want to encourage you to dive deeper. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go deeper to figure out really who you are. And the other thing that he had me do, Luis, was very powerful, because he says, now I want you to close your eyes and I want you to go inside your body and ask yourself, where are you? So where are you now? Where are you? So I closed my eyes and he said, start with your feet and scan your feet. Are you there? Are you in your feet? Is that where you are? And as I was scanning my feet, I realized, no, I'm not in my feet. That's not who I am. And we continued to scan upward on the legs. Are you in your legs? Now, some people might feel, yes, I'm in my legs. And so you start to go through your whole body and you're looking for yourself. Where are you? Are you in your stomach? Maybe your heart. Maybe you're your heart. Are you in the heart? Where are you in the heart? Maybe you're in your throat. A lot of people think, no, I'm up here. This is where I'm at. Where are you? Oh, I'm in my brain. Okay, so where are you in the brain? Identify exactly where you are in your brain. Now, this became very challenging for me because I couldn't find myself in myself. In fact, if you're looking for yourself, let me know if you're watching so I can see if you've had any luck finding yourself, if you've had any luck discovering exactly who you are. So these questions are powerful. They're thousands of years old, but a lot of people today, they're so distracted, they don't ask these questions. But I started to realize, and some people said, yes, I'm my heart. I'm my heart. That's who I am. I'm in my heart. So here's the thing that happens. If you have a heart transplant, which has happened, do they take you out? And when they put somebody else's heart in, are you still there? And the answer is yes. The answer is you're still somewhere, but you're not in your heart because your heart's gone now and you're still present, right? So trying to identify where you are in the body becomes very, very challenging. Trying to identify who you are based on roles, based on past experiences, based on status, these things don't work. So we're going to dive deep into this. And I would love to have you comment anything that you share. I would love to have you do so, because it benefits everybody. So keep in mind, when you're sharing and engaging, it helps others to engage who might be more shy. And the way we really expand our consciousness is by diving into it, by understanding who we are in relation to the universe, in relation to all the things that are happening on the crazy world today with the waves. So who are you? Again, a lot of people consider themselves their personality or their thoughts, their ideas. All these things is the mask, the persona. And what makes up your persona is simply the experiences you've had over your life, the programs that have been typed into you by society, and that is not you either. So a lot of people think when you pass away that your personality is going to pass away with you. Your personality is not you. So that is very temporal. Your personality changes. Everything that changes cannot be you. Okay, so let me take you into an example here. So when I ask who you are, I'm going to give you this example right now, which will be very visual. So this is a pot. All right. So this would be a container. This I learned from one of my mentors, Kamini, and it's a really great way to understand. If you've ever cooked before and you come home and you pull out a pot and you start cooking, what happens is we take a pot, we heat it up, and we start putting things in it. So the example I'm going to use some mung beans because they're dry. It'll be easy for me. So these are mung beans. All right. So they're just beans. If I pour these into the pot, what happens is they take the shape of the pot. Okay. So the contents is in the pot. Now, this is representative to our lives. Every single moment of every day, we have contents filling the pot. But because we don't know who we are, we look at the mung beans and we say, well, I'm mung beans. That's who I am. We consider ourselves the contents of the pot. But the problem with that is understanding that the contents of the pot is going to change every day, every minute, every year. So you are not the contents. You see, today it might be anger that's inside of you. And what we see in the world, there's so much anger. So the anger is filling the pot. But because we don't know who we are, we think, I am angry. I'm so angry. And the problem is we're now identifying with the contents in the pot. But tomorrow, the mung beans will be taken out and maybe it will be tomato soup. And so tomorrow we have tomato soup in the pot. Now you think you're tomato soup. The next day, maybe it's potatoes and then corn. And each time we look into the container, we're seeing a different content. And we start to associate ourselves, our role, as that is who I am. For example, listen to the way you speak. I am, when I asked, who are you? Well, I am a mother. You are not a mother. A mother is a role, an actor's role that you're playing in the moment. That is not who you are. Because if you didn't have kids, would you still be you? If you didn't have kids, would you, I'm a child, I'm a son. Well, that might be true, but that is not you, right? Now you're saying, well, wait a second. My parents, if they didn't have me, then I wouldn't be me. So I have to be, well, it's true, but you could have been a daughter and you would still be you. Whether you're male or female, you would still be you, the essence of you. So when we look at identifying ourselves, thank you, Diana. Thank you for the comment. I love that. So when you look at the essence of yourself, you've got to understand every single day that your attention is off who you are and it's on who you think you are, you have suffering. And every day you fill your pot. You start every morning and you start to fill this pot. You might fill this pot with judgment, separation, anger. You might fill it with money. You might fill this pot with fitness, with ideas. Whatever you fill this pot with is what you're identifying with. And it starts to create an idea of the role that you're playing in this world. The mung beans are not you. What is you? Well, let's look at it. You are the container. So you are the container and you hold everything. The container we don't notice because the container itself, it seems like it's always there. It's always on the stove. What we notice when we're hungry is what's in the pot. So we keep opening the lid, looking in, saying, what's for dinner? And we notice only the contents because there's always contents in the container. If we can get our container empty, we'll look and say there's nothing there. No thing in the pot. But then when you have a moment, you realize that if there's nothing in the pot, who am I? I'm not the anger because it's not in there. I'm not the money because that's gone. I'm not my kids because they've disappeared. I'm not my role because I don't have that anymore. I'm not my status because I didn't have that job anymore. I'm not any of these things. I'm not a friend because I've lost those friends. Maybe they passed away. All of a sudden, it's just an empty container. And this is the magic because this is your true nature. Everything on this planet that moves through you is not you. Anything that you can label, that you can see, that you can judge, that you can feel, that you can think is not you. Because everything that you can see, label, feel, judge, whatever, measure, these are all temporal things. Temporal things, they come and they go. The pot stays there. I'll give you another example of that. Who's ever looked at the night sky? Who's ever looked back on a beautiful summer's night, or it could be winter, and you look up, especially if you're out of the city, and you see the beautiful stars? Type in stars if you've done that. If you remember camping. I used to sleep out with my mom on the back patio, and we would put a mattress out. We would look at the stars in Colorado. And back then there wasn't as many lights in the city, so it was beautiful. And you could see all these amazing stars and movement and satellite go across. And it was so wonderful, the stars. But what we are focusing on is the stars. Donna says stars. You must remember them well, Donna. So isn't it true that we've been trained in our lives to focus on the scene, the stars? I don't think when you were looking at the sky, you were looking at the blackness of the sky and the space that separated the stars. We were too busy focused on the stars. So if you think about it, when you look at the sky, you would never, ever see the stars ever if it wasn't for the darkness of the night sky. It is the space and the dark space that creates the visuality, the visibility of those stars. So the star only stands out because of the backdrop, like my curtains here, right? This is the backdrop. Now, the only reason you can see me is because there's light on me, probably too much light. It's like I look like a moon. My face looks like a moon. But the reason we see with our eyes is because of light. So the separation, the space, the backdrop, that is the ever-present presence. That's more true of who we are. So when you think about it, the word I is somebody inside of you, something about you. And who it is I. Anytime you start your day, how many times a day do you say I? Constantly you're talking to yourself. I don't like myself. I have bags under my eyes. Look at my hair. I. And then you start to add all these things to the pot. So you start off in the morning, an empty, amazing, ever-present presence, the omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent beingness of all things. That's who you are. That is consciousness. It's infinite possibility. And then you choose a possibility today. And you say, today, I don't feel good. And you, I just got mung beans all over my desk. And so you say, I don't feel good. And what happens is you start your day with these little ideas, these little thoughts, and you keep adding them to your pot. And you might have negative, and most of you do, because most people are programmed to be negative. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted, your energy's gone, you associated yourself with all these things that are not you, and now you're confused because your life might not be working. If your life is not working, it's because you're identifying with the contents and not the container. Type in boom, if that makes sense. If every day you're getting up and you have a chance to fill your pot, what you forget about, because we all do, we all just tend to go about our day, and we forget that we are not the contents. So right away we get up, we start thinking. We get on our mobile phone, you start checking Facebook. You have a cup of coffee, you go pee, you go right back where you were yesterday. Nothing changes. What happens is you're reliving the past, old filters, old ideas. And as you relive the past, what happens is you lose yourself. You forget the majesty of who you are because you program yourself every day with your thinking and with your emotions, and you start your day over and over again the same way. Unless you do something different, this is what most people do. And every day it's like Groundhog's Day. So here's the thing. I want you to think about the world right now. We have a major issues in the world, right? Based on our mind, based on our thinking. What's going on right now? Just name some problems. Type them in for me, please. So I want to see what your perspective is. Right now, the world. Just tell me what's going on. I mean, when you first think of the world, what do you think's happening right now? What are the things happening in the world? You turn on the news. You don't even have to turn on the news because you have somebody that's going to tell you on Facebook, or somebody's going to tell you at the office, or somebody's going to tell you in your family. There's always something going on, right? And I'm 51 years old and going on 52, and I've never seen so much happening in the world, so much energy. So what's happening? And Donna says control. Okay, so control would be an idea that we put in the pot. There's control happening. And Diana says fear. Yeah, so there's a lot of fear. So they put that in the pot, right? There's anger, right? There's anger, so we put that in the pot. There's hatred. There's violence. There's gossip going on. There's love. Obviously, behind that, there's always love, but people don't see that part of it. Duality is going on. Absolutely. Thank you, Diana. So all this is going on, right? And so our day, we're taking in all this information and we're filling our pot. Unconsciously, we're filling our pot. And the interesting thing is we have our pot being filled, and then we start to identify with that because it's natural that our body identifies with that. So think this through. If the number one key that we start our pretty much all our sentences with is I, and then we follow it by am, that's when we start to get our challenges. So let me go here. One moment, I think my screen needs to be shared. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. So let's think this through for a moment, okay? Oops, I gotta bring that back up. Okay, so let me share this with you. When we start our day, or throughout the day, we start talking to ourselves, the I, right? So the I. The only thing that you say that is true in a day is I. Everything after that starts to fall apart. And this is where we start to move from the container, the I, the ever-present presence, the backdrop, the holder of all contents. And then we say, I am, right? How many times a day do you start your day, or do you start your conversations with I am? I am tired. I'm not feeling well. I'm broke. I'm fat. I'm skinny. I'm black. I'm white. I'm rich. I'm healthy. I'm sick. So what we do is we take this part of it, right? This part, the I am, and we don't really think about this. The consciousness is the I am. And when we came to this planet as a little baby, anybody remember being a baby? Who has a baby? If you have a baby or toddler, type that in right now. If you have a baby, let me know that you have a baby, because I'd like to know who has one, because you're more present with your baby than I would, because I'm not around a baby. But when I see a baby at a restaurant or something like that, I love it, because what starts to happen is you can see the difference on how they're perceiving the world. So the baby comes into the world and they have these really big eyeballs, right? They have these really big eyeballs and they're just over looking at everything. They're not thinking, I am miserable today. They're not even creating pictures or words. They are observing. And things make them laugh, things don't make them laugh, things make them cry, but they're just observing. They're not labeling everything. They're in awe. Have you ever seen a baby just in awe of every single thing? At a restaurant, they'll sit there and look at you like I'm at a booth, and they'll be like looking, and I'll make a duck sound. I'll do one of those, and they'll crack up or they'll cry. Right? I get either one. But they're just looking at the thing, and they're amazed at every part of humanity. They're amazed at their fork. And then they're amazed at anything on the table they stick in their mouth. They want to observe the world with all their senses. Human beings start to judge. So the baby comes into the world. They don't have thoughts. They have not learned to think. They don't have pictures because they don't have a memory bank of pictures to identify with. So what they have is total input and programs coming in. So a baby comes in as true consciousness, true I amness. The baby believes that it is abundant because when it was in its mother's womb, it had everything. It didn't have to ask for food. It was fed. It had warmth. It had everything it needed, and it had oneness. It was united with the mother. And then it comes into the planet, and right away, the cord is cut, separation, crying, big lights in your face, spankings, it starts crying. All these things start to happen, and now we move into duality. So the one becomes two. So it separates itself, right? It separates itself. And now we have duality happening on the planet. So when we see this, we start to lose who we are through the programs, because what's going to happen is mom and dad, and they're trying to do their best, but they don't know. So mom and dad, let me get this bigger. Mom and dad here, they are going to program. They're going to program. So think about it. They're going to start teaching the little baby who came into the planet as no body on how to be somebody. And who are you going to be? Well, that depends on who you're programmed to be. It's not who you are. They're illusions, but it's the program. So maybe they start to teach you how to put blocks, things together. Maybe you learn not to put a square in a round hole. So you learn the program. Then this is what happens. This is really amazing. You take a little baby out, they hold onto your finger, and when they start to learn to walk and talk, and they see these amazing things flying in the air, they don't label these things. They just see the beauty of each one. It's amazing. But then mom and dad says, oh, look, that's a bird. So now what we have is we have another program. And the program goes from non-label to a label. So now we have a bird. So never again does this child see the wondrous beauty of each creature as a unique feature on the planet. They label everything as bird, that flies, that looks like a bird. So it loses its mystery. It loses its unique feathers. It loses it in the fact that it is just labeled as a bird. And you've heard the quote, to label me is to negate me, which means there is no longer the me there. You've created a box around it and you no longer see it for what it is. You see it based on a filter or a program that is not real, but now it's a label, and you will never see the truth about this majestic being anymore. Does that make sense? Say yes if that makes sense. Diana says, I have a 10-year-old son. So Diana, you would know, especially each phase that your son has gone through, to watch the development of the programs. And no matter how well we do with our children, there's still programs we're inserting in them. And you see the kids from 3 to 12. Thank you. So now watch this. Everything that comes after the I am is the illusion. Okay, so I am fat. Tell me the things that you hear people say, or maybe you say. When you say I am, what are you labeling yourself? There's good and there's bad, or I don't even like to use good and bad, but there's just terms. What do you hear being said when people say I am? What follows that generally? Let's do a quick list. Just type them in. Let's do a quick list of how people anchor the pot to what the contents are. So they're going to fill their pot every single day. And the way I used to, because my program, I flunked kindergarten, so I am slow. They told me in kindergarten I had to stay back because I'm slow. I don't learn as quick as other kids. So what that means is I'm slow. That's a program. Also, we didn't make a lot of money. So we were poor. I am poor. I didn't do very well, and I wasn't picked on recess in sports. So I am not good at whatever the sport is. So now the I am is defining itself by things that are not who it is. Now, as time went on, I am ugly, right? I am free. Somebody said, who's that? Donna, you say free. Yeah, I like that one. There's a positive one. I am free. Awesome. So they could be good or bad, but a lot of people, 95% of the day, they're spinning out negative in their heads. I am broke, poor, fat, old, tired. I am what? Weak. So the thing is, because society's programmed to the negative. Oh, here's another one. Let's just talk about this. I am white. This is going on right now. I am black. Do we see a separation here? There's a big separation here, right here. The pigment color of our skin, the race. And that's such a very small thing. It's just a color, a shade. I mean, let's face it. I could make that color and that color. So two different colors. But here's the thing. When we're actually chunking down to more details, we separate ourselves more. I am white, I am black. Okay. Let me get rid of that. This is a tough one that I struggled with. Maybe you'll understand it. I am straight. I am gay, right? Sexual identity, another I am. And today, a lot of people that I found identify themselves as these labels. So I'll just tell you what I do know. I'm not a black man, I'm a white man. But I will tell you this, in the gay world, what I've found to be true is a lot of gay people associate themselves as being gay, and that is the filter that defines their lives. That defines their politics, that defines their income level, that defines their tolerance. And so what happens is the more we go down by diving deeper into separation, the more we do that, the more we operate out of truth, the more we add more contents to the container, the more we lose who we are. So when you define yourself as, for example, gay, and you believe that you're different than the straight people, and what you're going to do is you're going to keep them away because they don't understand, right? So here's the truth, though. What if we start looking at it like, what are our similarities? Because whether you're white, black, gay, straight, rich, or poor, these are all dividers. Every one of these, I don't care how many protests or riots you do, they're going to create more pain, more suffering, because nothing will ever change when you go down. What we need to do is go up. It's called chunking up. And what we need to do is realize that no matter what you are, you're a human. We can all connect on the fact that we are humans, right? We are humans on this planet. Now that would separate us from animals. So there's still division. You can see we're still down, separation. The more we go down, the more we separate ourselves. So we have separation. So when we're going down, we're separating. And we can find divisions and we fragment ourselves from others. And each time we make a decision in our container to separate what goes in the container, and we start to identify with the contents, the black. If you're identified with black, you're missing the truth. If you're identified with white, you're missing the truth. If you're identified with gay, you're missing the truth. Straight, rich, poor, all these are a part of your humanity, but they are not you. So they can define this time space that you're living in, but they are not you, right? So when we go up, what if we start to look for more similarity? Similarity would be we're humans, but let's go even higher than that. What if we are all one? One consciousness. Because if we take away the black body, the white body, the gay body, the rich body, the straight body, the broke body, the only thing that keeps us the same, that does not separate us, is the isness, the ever-present presence, which is you. Think back to when you were 7 years old, as far back as you can remember. Think back to when you were a little kid. How old were you? Type it in. How old were you when you first remember very clearly as a child? How old were you? So when you were a little child and you thought like a child, right? Maybe you were 7 years old. And at 7 years old, I knew that I was me. But the me that I was at 7 was not the me that I was when I was a baby. The me that I was at 7 was a amalgamation of a bunch of programs my parents taught me, my society taught me. But I knew myself as Vince. I knew my name. I knew I was a boy. I knew I had blue eyes. I knew I had blonde hair. I knew I had a family that didn't have a lot of money, so we were poor. I knew I had learning disabilities. I was slow. So, but my body at 7 years old was still my body. Now today I'm at 52 years old, and I do not identify myself as these anymore. I mean, yes, I still am a boy, and I'm still my name, and I still have blue eyes. My hair is turned, well, the hair I have is now brown. I'm not poor. I'm not slow. I've just learned that those programs were wrong. So, but the thing is, my body itself has changed. Every 7 years, all your cells in your body disappear and new cells are created, which means you recycle yourself, every aspect of you, every 7 years, which means if you identify with your body, the contents that are temporal and time bound, if you think that's who you are, in 7 years, that's not who you are anymore. You're different. Everything's different, but you're still you. The essence of you at 1 year old is the same as the essence of you at this age. Does that make sense? Does that make sense that this essence, this consciousness looking from these eyes, still looking out to the world, is still you? The body's changed. I don't look like a 7-year-old. My hair's leaving. I have gray beards. I have wrinkles. My body's bigger. I am not the same body. I'm not even the same thoughts, because back then I had so many beliefs that I don't hold anymore. Some of them I still have because they're programs. So this is not who I am, but this is who we define ourselves as. So we've got to understand that we're going through this movement in life, right? This movement. So let's go a little deeper here. Are you enjoying this? Let me stop for a moment and just ask, what's your biggest takeaway so far? What have you learned? What have you had an aha moment about? What have you discovered about yourself or about life that maybe, just maybe, will impact you in a different way moving forward in your life? If you'll type that in, I'd love it. And if you're watching on replay, just type in authentic elevation, hashtag authentic elevation, and then tell me what your takeaway is, what the one thing is that you feel so far that you've gained from this. Now, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I want to show you something. Another analogy that a guru used that I learned from, Gurudev, Amritji. And I love this because they likened it to a wave. So if you look at this wave here, Chris says, wisdom, love, character, and consciousness conquering everything. Yogi, but I always say that wrong. Bayan. I apologize, not say his name right. Thank you, Chris. So here's was a great metaphor that I loved about the I am. The I am here is very amazing because if we think of ourselves as the ocean, thank you. Diana says, it's a reminder for me. I can choose. Wonderful. So if you think about the ocean at its depth, we don't see movement really because we're deep down in the ocean. Like when we go into meditation, we go deep. There's no real thoughts. There's no real noise. The thoughts drift away and it's only the ever-present presence. We don't notice anything because we're not judging. We're not there the same way we're showing up above on the surface. So the example was, and I love this example, is you are the wave. At the top of the ocean, we have energy moving. So all that's happening in the universe is we have consciousness, which is all knowingness, and we have energy, which is movement. So when we look at this, we can see that clearly at the top of the ocean, we have a wave being created. And you can see the wave is being created. Now, when you look at the wave, is it measurable? Can I measure it with a depth, with a length, and with a width? Can I measure that wave? Can we look at the color of it? Is it a different color than the water behind it and the water in front of it? Is it a different color? We can measure how long it lives. When was it born? When did it break? And when does it create? And then when does it break? We can sense it by the smell. What's the smell of the ocean? If you ever smelled the ocean, you know, the smell of the ocean and the waves pushing that salt water smell, you can do that. And when you smell it, you know that you have a sense. So we're measuring the universe, the world, by 5 senses. We are like aliens who have come to this planet in our biogenetic spacesuit. And we only, like the Mars rover, we only have so many things that we can pull in information. So we use our sense of touch, and we use our sight, and we use our scent, we use our taste, and we use our hearing. And that's how we define the world. And yet, when it comes into our biogenetic suit, our brain, and everybody has a different program, we process and we make a story. And we create this story, which is not true, but we believe it is. So we tell ourselves a story, and we tell everybody else a story. And that story is based on the senses that we've taken in from one thing or multiple things, like the wave. So this wave is different than the wave behind it and the wave in front of it. And now we have comparison, and we can compare. My wave is better than your wave, and I have a bigger wave, and I'm more blue than you, and I'm black, and I'm white, and I'm gay, and all these things are the wave. Now, here's the powerful part of this. Sasha says, if you remove the label ego, you find source. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sasha. So here's the awesome thing behind this. Did the wave ever leave the ocean? Did the wave ever leave the ocean? The wave was born in a time, at some time, some point, you can measure it. It was born. The wave dies. It comes, it goes. So my question is this. If you can measure it, if it is born and dies, if you can see it being born and die, if you can judge it, is it you? And is it real? So if you can measure the wave, you know that the wave is a physical form. It has taken physicality because you can measure it. And then we identify that the wave is us. So you are a wave of energy. And the wave comes out into consciousness out of the field of all possibilities. And what arises is a dance. Energy is dancing. And it moves. And it springs into beingness and back out of beingness. It is a dance, just like the ocean. It is movement and energy, consciousness, which is the ocean, moving with energy, and it creates waves. Sometimes they're big, small. Sometimes they're small, real small. And the wave has never, ever left the ocean. The wave is the ocean. It's never left it, and it never returns to it because it is still the ocean. The only difference is it's taking a form for the moment that you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, whatever. Deep down below the ocean, it's still the ocean. You just don't feel, see waves. You don't judge. You can't measure because there's no measurement of it. It's just isness. And that is like consciousness. That is the container. The ocean would represent the container. And the wave would represent the contents, your body, your thoughts, your stories, your mind, all these things that we're judging, your wealth, your career. It's temporary, out of the ocean. Not again, it's not out of the ocean, but it's on the ocean. It's the ocean in movement, right? Experiencing itself as a wave. That's what's happening with the ocean analogy. And I think that's very powerful because if we stop and think about that, we realize that we are the wave, but we are also the ocean. So inside of each wave is infinite possibility to create everything you've wanted to create. But here's the key. And here's a challenge I think that people forget. And that is that we came to this planet with a purpose. And let me go back to this. I'm going to draw a little picture here. So this is you and me. That's a brain, heart. So when we come to this planet, we actually have this energy field around us. We are like a battery, like the earth. We have energy fields around us. You might call it the aura. It's energetics, okay? This is energy because we're batteries. And our energy, we only have a limited amount, okay? It's a limited amount, so we have to sleep. Our body has to sleep. And when we come to this planet, we have a single point in our heart when we're born, and that single point would be in the heart right there. That's the point of truth, the point of consciousness. So that blue represents point of truth. We're here to find the truth, correct knowledge. So we come here as consciousness manifesting itself into physical being to play a game of hide and seek. And we have this inside of us, this drive to find the truth, our purpose. And I'm talking about the one purpose that we all have, because I believe there is only one purpose that we all have, and that is to wake up. But when we get to Earth, it's very much like a little boy or a little girl at the toy store. And I remember, if you remember as a kid, you always wanted that toy that you saw on television. I used to watch the TV commercials, and they would show a real cool toy. And if I got enough money or my mom saved enough, I could get that toy. But I remember when I'd walk into the toy store, I wanted that toy, but I was mesmerized by all the other options, all the other toys. So when we get to this planet, we get so distracted. And what we start to do is we start to look around with our eyes, obviously, and we start to look at every other toy, all the other things that can distract us. So we're being distracted by building a building, by doing real estate, trading the stock market, doing a career, CEO, becoming a singer, playing an instrument. All these things are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them. The problem is we're in the toy store and we came on purpose because we saved our money to go get that one toy that we really wanted. That was our purpose. But we're distracted now, and our brain is distracting us. And not only are we distracted by all these things that we want to do on the planet, we're also distracted by all the programs that are being put into us by our parents. From the time we're kids, we take on their programs. They're programming us. Our churches, they tell us the way we should think, feel, and do. By our neighborhood, right? Our neighbors, by the news, by anything happening outside of us. All of our senses picking up all these programs. And we get lost in the toy store. And a lot of times we end up leaving the toy store without ever getting the toy that we went to get. In fact, it's very much like shopping. If you've ever gone shopping and you had one thing on your list, just one thing you need to get, but you also jotted a couple things down. You went to the store and you got other things because the store is very good at selling you on things you don't need. You end up going home and you have everything else, but you don't have the one thing. Who's ever done that? Raise your, well, I can't see you. If you've ever done that, say bang, B-A-N-G, bang. If you've gone and you actually walked home or came home and you didn't have the one thing that you went to get. So this is our distraction. The fact is, our purpose on the planet is to wake up and to discover that there is no separation. We are in duality, and our goal, our purpose, our intention is to find that truth that we are all one. So you can have a purpose on the planet maybe that's beyond that, but I found in my work and in my journey that there's only one purpose that we all have, and that is to restore wholeness, to come back home. And what I realized is I kept trying to awaken myself. And if you've studied any of the ancient texts from the Vedanta or the Tibetan Book of the Dead or the Bible or the Torah, any of these books, ancient books of wisdom, you find that a lot of people want to free themselves or liberate themselves from the pain and suffering, and to, some people call it, go to heaven or liberate or be free, right? The problem is, and this is what I found, I thought, well, I just want to get there, regardless of what you guys do, regardless of what the world does, I don't care. I'm just going to work hard and get to my heaven, my awakening, my nirvana. And here's the problem with that. When I had my awakening experiences, which I've had many, where I downloaded from consciousness beyond mind, beyond thought, beyond the roles, beyond the contents of the container, what I was shown is there is no winning for me until everybody wins. If we cannot liberate everybody, I don't liberate, because everybody is me. There is only one. The law of one is there is only one life, expressing itself in multiple points of time and dimension. So life itself is moving like a dance, coming up in different points, but it's the same life force that animates my body, animates your body, animates the trees, the ocean. Everything is divine intelligence of energy. It's a song, and a universe is one verse, one song, and we're all a different note or instrument, but the same air blows through that animates the sound. And the song becomes a song because the energy of prana, the life force, whatever you want to call it, those are just names. Anytime we name something, we label it. So we can never explain truth. Truth can never be explained. Consciousness can never be explained. I'm doing my best to explain it, but it will never be explained. It has to be experienced. So to experience consciousness, we have to move outside of our so-called self into a place of oneness. And the more times we do that, the more we're going to experience who we really are and the greater part of ourselves. So I'm going to start wrapping up here, but I want to give you a couple more things. And see, now, for some of you, I asked for the number one takeaway. Sasha put singularity. I don't see some others, so maybe you guys haven't typed them in, or hopefully you had a takeaway so far. Hopefully you're like, I didn't have anything yet. But type it in if you would, because it benefits everybody else too, to see your perspective. So we start to look at where suffering comes from. And as I look at the world and I see the marches, I realize what's happening is we're still in separation, because people are identifying with the contents and not the container. And that means we're going to have more pain. There's nothing that we can do. I'm not saying it doesn't help. I'm not saying it doesn't maybe push us towards waking up. But I think to really wake up, we need to start looking at our similarities and not our differences. If we keep pushing one color over another color, it's just racism. And it happens on both sides. I'm sorry, it happens on both sides. Racism is in everybody. And that's why we have racism. It is a projection into the universe, because we all inside of ourselves have been programmed to believe that somebody is different because of A, B, or C. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be sexism. It could be ageism. It could be whatever it is, some kind of ism. All the isms are a lie. And the more we focus on the isms, the more we're going to have separation. So we've got to remember that if we're going to change, we've got to move back to oneness, not dive down to separation. Let me give you an example, and this is from NLP. If I was in a seminar and I wanted to make my point and relate to the most number of people, I have two ways I could attempt to do this. One way will work, the other way won't. Here's the example that a lot of people don't understand. If I ask the audience, and I'm going to ask you, do you believe movement is important? Raise your hand. Or you could type yes. But if I was an audience, I'd say raise your hand if you believe movement's important. Now, if I do that in my seminar, I'm going to get about probably 100% of the people that believe movement is important. So we've chunked up, right? Movement now becomes an idea of movement. Now, everybody's going to define movement very differently, because movement is based on your perception of movement. Some people think movement will be a car, right? Oh yeah, I like moving, so they think of a car. Other people think of somebody walking. Other people think of the wind, right? Moving, gusts. Other people think of the planet spinning around, right? So everybody says, yeah, movement's important. It keeps the planet working. It keeps my body healthy. It keeps us moving to get to the job. This is called where we chunk up, and we get more agreement when we have chunked up agreement. But when we chunk down, this is where we lose ourselves. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. Now, if I ask the same question, but I ask it differently in my audience, what if I said, cars are important? Who believes we need cars? They're very important. I'm going to lose a lot of my audience because a lot of people don't believe we need cars anymore. We can use public transport. We can walk. We can ride bikes. We can, so I'll start to lose connection with people in the wholeness. If I even go deeper and I say what's important is a 1962 Ferrari. It's red. Now, that's very specific for movement, right? So what we've done is we've gone down deeper into separation. So what's happening now is we have where I had a mass audience who all pretty much believe movement's important, and I can relate to them on that level. Now, when I start saying a 1962 Ferrari is important, raise your hand if you believe that's true, I might get 2 or 3 people out of 1,000 that think that's important. So we can see that it's only relating to a few people because they separated themselves by believing that this is a very important thing in their life. Maybe they own one, maybe they want one, but for most people, they don't care. They might want a Mercedes or they might want a bicycle. So this is where we lose when we go deeper into our labels and our defining of everything. And that is where we lose our consciousness because we lose the connection with all of us, right? So that is how we dive deep and we start to separate ourselves. So we are no longer the container. We become the contents going into the container. And because there's so many different contents in the world, people are not going to relate to your contents or my contents because they don't see it the same way based on the programs from their parents, their church, TV, their neighborhood, where they grew up, were they broke, were they rich, were they religious, were they sick or healthy. So all of a sudden we're separated because tomorrow night's tomato soup, the next night's corn on the cob, and they're all different. And when we identify with what goes into the container, we're missing the entire mark of what we're here for, which is a waking up and understanding our purpose on the planet is to wake up and to come back to source, which is that you are me and I am you. And I think of it like this, as an antenna. If we have an antenna and we are antennas, a lot of people in my seminars would come up and I would, and especially in the business seminars, and I had inventors and I had people who had great ideas. And I'd say, is that your thought, that idea? They're like, yeah, that's my thought. But that's not true. The truth is the thought is in the universe. The thought is an energy pattern in the universe that you don't see. The thought is actually not yours. It is an energy information pattern of ones and zeros, basically. And it's in the universe and it's not yours. And if you don't act on that thought, let's say it's an invention, somebody else will take the same thought because they'll get the same thought and they'll go act on it and they'll turn that into an invention in a business. And then that other person will say, look, they stole my idea. I also liken it to a radio, right? If you think about a radio, back when we used to have the radio, the antenna, the radio itself is just the hardware like our body. So this would represent your body. And you don't have a song in the radio. You could open this radio and you're not going to find a little group in there that's playing a song. You're not going to find a CD in there. You're not going to find any music in there whatsoever. This is your body. This is who you are. See, this is who we think we are. Actually, this is the Mars rover. There's no intelligence in there. That's just a device that actually picks up the energy patterns that are moving through the universe, right? And depending on the channel, it's going to pick up different energies. So this is one of my life coaches back in 2000 timeframe, around 2002, 3. She woke me up to understanding frequency. And so the example would be, what kind of music do you like? Type it in. What's your favorite music coming in? I love EDM. I don't know why, but I can dance to EDM. It makes me move, right? I don't like hip hop, can't stand it. Part of it is the lyrics. Part of it is the energetics. It feels bad in my body, which makes me realize there's probably not a good message here. I know there's some good hip hop, but overall, I don't feel that it benefits humanity. EDM, when I hear songs that are about love and connection, it opens my heart. I can dance and I can move. So there's all kinds of different music that we have. And Galen says, Neo Soul. I love it. Thanks, Galen. Neo Soul. I don't think I've heard of that. So what happens, though, is when we tune in to hip hop, right? Hip hop is on a different channel. You got to turn the dial until you get the right frequency for hip hop. Now, I believe that's a lower energy frequency. I know there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of messaging. However, energy follows attention. What you put out, you get more of. So when you tune into an energy vibration, it changes your vibrational frequency. Your antenna is attracting in certain thoughts that are based on your frequency, based on what you've channeled yourself to. If you start your day in negative, you start your day with bitching, moaning, not taking care of your body, not being gratitude, you're starting your day on a low channel. The music coming in the rest of the day is going to fill you with that same energy. However, if you start your day on maybe a beautiful neo soul, I don't know if that's beautiful or great lyrics and great vibes, but I trust it is. But if you start your day over here on some beautiful soul, you change the dial, Galen, right, to a higher frequency. And so now your day's coming in at a higher frequency, and what starts to happen is you're resonating a different vibe to the planet. And as you resonate a different vibe to the planet, you're going to attract different frequencies, different people that resonate with you, different opportunities, and you're going to be more gratitude, right? So you can tune into gratitude in the morning for everything you have, or you can tune in to complaints. And you do this every day. I do this every day. I've had days where I've been really low energy and I've been bitching, complaining, not grateful. And then it just sprouts into a lot of problems. If that makes sense, hit a wow face. Give me a wow if that's totally resonating with you right now. The way you start your day, the way you go through your day by tuning in changes the station and it changes your frequency. And that's what we have happening, right? Let me move this up a little bit here. Okay, so one thing I want to clear up, and I'm going to give you a couple things that you can do, but we're going to start wrapping it up. The logical mind is a very powerful tool on the planet, but our mind was only meant to be a tool. Our brain was never meant to be lived from. This was never meant to identify you. This is a tool no different than your hand or your eyes. It is not you. But unfortunately, humanity has identified with the brain. And Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. And that started the problem. That is not true. But because society believes it's true, they believe that they are their thoughts and their stories that come up again and again. They are the wave. The noisy mind that creates the waves on the surface is what we identify with, we anchor to, and it destroys lives. So many people's lives are being destroyed. They're suffering over and over. It's going to continue until we wake up. Suffering ends when you wake up. And all suffering is attachment to the past and the future in your mind, creating attachments. So if you ever heard the Bible, I didn't want to be wealthy as a kid because I remember the Bible quote, it is harder for a rich man to get into heaven than a camel to get in the eye of a needle. Who's ever heard that before? Say yes if you have. I used to think, my mom sewed, and I used to think that meant that it's impossible for a rich person to go to heaven because the needle, there's no way a camel could get through the eye of a needle. I did not know, however, the needle that the Bible was referring to is actually a gate in Jerusalem. It's a gate that camels go through. It's just that it's very hard because the camel has a lot of packages on its back, a lot of supplies. So for it to get through that opening, which is narrow, it takes a lot of work, right? That is a different idea. And that's why so many people have poverty consciousness, because they think, well, I'll never get to heaven. So understanding the words, understanding the meanings is so critical. So what happens is we have all these thoughts and we identify with our thoughts. And yet that's why we have so many problems in the world. We have so much ego. And so the logical mind, it will always create a subject-object scenario. When I look out to the world and I see everything is different than myself, because I end here at my skin. Vince ends at the skin, you begin there, I end here, we're different. That is the way we've been trained to see. That is not true, that's an illusion. That creates a subject-object. The subject is the doer of the thing, the object is the receiver of the thing. So now we're doing a duality dance. And what happens is we never understand the other. We cannot get into compassion because we don't understand them, because they're not me. But when we start to see the other as me, that is me, then I can feel their pain because it's my pain. All humanity has pain, and all humanity is you. It is your pain. So what I realized is I could not win by getting my nirvana unless I help everybody else get there, because we all win together or we don't win. And when I say win, I mean awaken, because I cannot think that it's all about me. And we all do that. We think, well, I want to get rich. I don't care about everybody else. Once we've done that, we separate ourselves. We cannot look at broke people the same because we judge them for being broke. And broke people judge the rich for being rich. When I'm not the same as you, because I'm becoming the red Ferrari and not the movement, then what's happening is I'm separating myself from you. I'm fragmenting myself more and more, but not just from you, from myself. Each time I create a judgment outside of me, it breaks off a part of me inside of me, and it gets harder for me to find the truth. Is this making sense? So the one point we had in our heart is the desire to know the truth, the desire to get that toy. It was our purpose to go to the toy store. The purpose we came to this planet was for us to wake up, to realize who we are. You are an infinite being, an ever-present presence that's behind the mask, behind the persona, behind the lies and the illusion that we've created with our mind for 20, 30, 80 years. That is not who you are. You are the one behind all of that. So I want you to remember, as I wrap up here, that every day you can start anew with a brand new pot with nothing in it. As you wake in the morning, instead of going right to your mobile phone and programming yourself to the negative of the news and putting it in there, oh crap, more crap, and we put it in there. Instead of the coffee right away, coffee, put it in there. And we start to fill our pot with all these different things that are not us. And then we have a miserable day because our energy is being depleted. What if we start our day with an empty pot and just say, as I get up in the morning, the first thing I'm going to do after I pee, because you should probably do that first, is sit with myself, even just for a moment. You can build up on this. And just breathe and just notice my body and notice the silence and notice the container. Before the thinking mind gets really active in the morning, notice the emptiness so you can notice the container. Before you start putting stuff in it from yesterday, the to-do list and all that, what if you just noticed the empty container that holds all of this? And it changes as it goes through the container, but that is not you. And as you start to notice who you are, and you start to notice that everybody else is you, it's just one life that we're all believing in the contents versus the container. So I'm going to challenge you with 3 things. And I'm going to give you one technique that might help you. The first thing I'm going to challenge you with, let me move this, is remember, if you are the I am, don't say I am angry. I remember when I went to Alcoholics Anonymous and they'd stand up in the room and say, I'm an alcoholic. I did not like that statement because right away they are identifying with whatever comes after I am. Here's what I would have you say and start to create this pattern in your language patterns. This will change your life. Your words are vibrational frequencies. They create the universe. They have meaning. They have power. So what you say, you're manifesting, whether you like it or not. 95% of your day, you're in unconscious mode. Your old programs are running the boat. Your old programs are causing you to live the life you've always lived with the same programs from your parents, from your television, from your church. And you have to break free to find the truth. And to find the truth, you got to question what right now you think is true. You got to question what you believe is true now. If you're not willing to question the very fabric of your being, your religion, what you've been told by your parents, your disciples, your mentors, even me, question everything I say. If you're not willing to do that, you will probably never find truth. If you're willing to question everything as if you don't know, you'll be closer to the truth. When I knew, I did not know. In fact, there's a great proverb that says, he who knows does not say, and he who says does not know. That has total different meaning to me than it used to because of my work with consciousness. And I'll explain that at some other point. But here's the thing. I am not angry. That's not who I am. What you would say is, I am experiencing anger. Is that more true than I am angry? If you're angry, then you're always angry, always. That's not who you are. Do not create the scenario that I am angry. I would say I'm experiencing anger right now. I'm experiencing alcoholism right now, right? To me, that's more true. I am not alcoholic. I'm experiencing alcoholism right now. Because isn't it true that there was a time in your life where you didn't experience alcohol? So you couldn't be an alcoholic, right? So I'm coming at this from a conscious level, not a mind level or a brain level. So I am experiencing. So if you're going to start saying things, why not start to make the language fit you? And we'll get rid of this, right? Let's get rid of that. And the I am, how about this one? I am abundant. What if every morning you got up and you filled your pot with abundance? I'm sorry, you're not even seeing this, are you? Let me put it back up. I am abundant. If you start getting up and you say, first of all, just notice the container is empty. Notice it, breathe, just be present with yourself. And then start to think the thoughts that you want to fill the container with. So you start your day. You start your day with the I am statement of who am I? Well, I am abundant. I am the ever present presence. I am healthy. I am grateful for all I have, all that's ever been done, all that is and all that will be done. I have great gratitude from my heart. Now, when you start to operate your day this way, you're setting the program in the morning by typing out your code for the day. And you come up with a list of the thoughts that you want to think to be who you want to be. Because you've got to be first. You have to be before you can do, and you have to do before you can have. People start with the doing. Stop doing. Stop having. Start being. Who are you being today? Well, I am being grateful because that's who I am. I am grateful. That is my true essence. I am health because that is my true essence. There is no sickness in me because I am manifestation of health. I am energy because that's all that there is, ever has been, and ever will be. I am energy. I am abundant. Those are the real parts of your I amness. The other parts are lies. Now, I will say in third dimensional space, you can say, yes, those are true too, because the opposite of wealth is poverty, right? So it's true, poverty and wealth work together. But what you focus on, you get more of. Energy follows attention. And I will say you must be able to accept whatever happens. Does this make sense? So Galen says, abundance, I need that. I'm going to challenge you on that statement. Let me just show you how powerful your words are, Galen. Okay, so I'm not picking on you, but I want you to see this. That's the truth. That's the only thing there. When you put in the word need, that sends a program to the universe that you don't have. So you're typing in the code, I want or need. These are words of lack. It's like a vacuum, right? You don't have it, and the universe hears that through frequency, and all it hears is the fact that you need, which means you don't have it. So it's going to give you more neediness, more wantingness. Does that make sense? So you need abundance. You need to change the statement, and this is challenging for us, but to learn the statement of get rid of that word and replace it with that. I am abundant. I am healthy. I am amazing. I am wealthy. Money comes to me, whatever it is. Now, here's the other thing I want to say. The other thing is important is we don't get attached to these things, because then we lose consciousness again. So there's attachments, which a lot of people are attached. Everyone is attached. Attachment we all get, right? So if you have a child, you betcha, Diana. If you have a child, who's ever felt this? Who has children, by the way? Do me a favor, type in how many children you have. But type in children next to it so that I know it's not just a number. How many children do you have? I have one child. She just called me last night. I have one. Okay. I'm one of three children, but one of them drowned. So I'm physically one of two children from my family, right? I'm a sibling. I have a sibling. Isn't it true we attach to our children? Isn't it true that you look at your child as a special relationship? Yes or no? You attach to your child, which means you probably believe that I love my child so much, unconditionally. A lot of parents would say unconditionally, which is not true, by the way. You know why it's not true? Because if you say, I love my child, I'm attached to my child. If my child dies, I have great suffering, right? And it's normal in our space to do that. But because we don't understand who we are, we don't understand that you never lose a child. The child is always, because it is you, right? But in third dimensional space, we have this great loss, suffering, and pain. And we also attach a label of unconditional love. Have you done that? Have you had somebody you love unconditionally? Well, here's the interesting thing. If you love your children unconditionally, there's a condition. The condition is it's your child. If you loved unconditionally, what about your neighbor's child? What about me? What about Donald Trump? You see, we lie to ourselves because we don't have unconditional love. We have conditional love. The condition is it's my child. I'll save my child before some other child. Why? Because I'm attached to my child or my money. It's really interesting when I go to my seminars and I watch people. It's so funny how our ego does not want to die. It takes control of everything and we're so not aware of it. Go to a seminar, people are sitting with me for a day or two and they're sitting in the same chair. And then they're kind of late one morning and somebody new comes in and takes their chair. And that person will come up and say, excuse me, you're sitting in my chair. So they've attached to the chair. It's not even their chair, it's the hotel's chair. But the fact is, they have anchored themselves to that chair. That's their chair. And this is what happens. We lose ourselves in all these labels and our ego taking control. So attachment is our greatest suffering. When we learn to detach, we learn to have freedom. So it doesn't mean you can't want things. All it means is this: consider, instead of having attachments, to have preferences. For example, I want to make $1 million. A lot of people are really after money, right? I want to make $1 million. My desire is to make $1 million. So they spend their whole life working, sacrificing to go make $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is. And they get there and they're attached. And they think, I'm a millionaire. Well, I was a millionaire right before the crash of the real estate market. And guess what happened? I lost it all. When you lose it all and you define yourself by what you have, who are you now? And all of a sudden I felt like a loser because I associated myself with my status, my money, what will other people think? I lost it all. And I thought I was done. But then I had an awakening, another one. And I realized I am the wealth, not the $1 million. I can create that like that. And whether it comes to me or leaves me does not matter, because I am not that. I am the creator of that, and therefore it's not me. So instead of having a desire to anchor to the $1 million, what if instead we just have the preference? I'll take $1 million if it comes my way because of the value I give to the world. Sure, I'll take it. Tesla, whatever you want. But if I don't get it and I don't make $1 million, that's okay too. And if I don't have a Tesla, that's okay too. And if I don't travel the world, that's okay too. Because I can travel in my own mind. I can create all that inside myself. I can create the same feelings as having all this inside myself. And so I don't need any of those things. Sure, I'm going to desire some, but I don't want to attach to it. And when we stop attaching to it, we start to wake up. Does that make sense? So let me give you a couple more things and we're going to wrap up. I'm finished here. It's been like 1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay, let me just share this with you and I'll get you out of here. Okay, number one. I'm going to challenge you to, again, think about the I am every day, to become the observer. Become the observer. If it has to, look at a child or put a picture of yourself as a baby. If you find a baby picture, put a picture of yourself as a baby picture on your car steering wheel or on your mirror in the bathroom to start your day, and look at that and let that anchor into you that you're here on this planet to observe and not to judge, not to break down everybody and everything into boxes so you fragment yourself and others. You're here to explore and observe, just watching the movie, not judging the movie, watching the movie as it unveils itself. And be filled with wonder to know that you're living in such a beautiful opportunity to see everything happening. Instead of judging everything, remember every time you see your baby picture, I just want to observe and not be in the future thinking about the stress and the worry of making money or this or that, not be in the past thinking about my problems. I want to be right here, right now, in the movie theater where it's happening, and be paying attention to the movie. Number two, energy follows attention. This is very powerful. What you focus on, you get more of. If you continue to focus on the future stresses, the problems that you want money instead of you are wealthy, you start to create more energy around it. If you focus, like so many people are doing today, on the injustice, if you're focused on injustice, what do you think you're going to get more of? Now, I know this is confusing to some people because you're like, wait a second. How are we going to fix the planet if we don't stand up to this? I'll tell you how. You don't fix the planet outside of you. You fix the planet inside of you, because everything inside of you is projecting outside of you. Everything inside of me is projecting outside of me. I used to think I wouldn't kill anybody. These wars are disgusting. I can't believe people kill. And then I kill a bug. And then I get mad at my neighbor. And then I hate somebody because they did something to me. And what I realized is my energy was splintering off into anger, hatred, even death. And that is all adding up like a bunch of numbers. And with 7.5 billion people doing that, it creates a reality of war, violence, separation, hatred. So we are guilty of everything out there. So you want to fix the world? You don't need to protest. I think it's fine. Rioting will definitely not fix the world. That's more energy into destruction. That creates more destruction. You want to fix the world? Come back home in yourself. Sit with yourself and look at the parts of you that you've broken off in your life that you hate about yourself. Maybe you're overweight and you hate that. I suggest you start loving it. In the shower, as you wash yourself, you say, I'm so blessed to have this arm. Has a lot of extra fat on it, and I appreciate that fat because that feeds me. I love my arm. I love my arm. It's so beautiful. I accept my body. And if you want to be skinny, just start seeing it that way. Say, listen, I see this body amazing. It's fit. It's in shape. It is full of health. And as you touch your body, you honor the body. And then you're going to change your body. As you change the body, you change the body of humanity. And on your anger of yourself that you pushed away, the gay part of me, I still am working to accept that little boy that knew he was different, that nobody wanted to be a certain way. So I put him in a corner and hid him, and I hated him. And so I crucified him by crucifying anybody that I saw as gay. I ripped them apart with my words. All I was doing is ripping apart myself. So every time we want to heal, we got to come home inside of ourselves and ask, how am I contributing to this planetary violence and injustice and racism and whatever it is? And by the way, everybody that keeps putting up hate to Trump, they're increasing hate. If you don't like Trump, or listen, I don't like some of the people as well, but I'm learning as I go that we need to really start looking at them as they don't need our hate. They need our love. To love even if they're not lovable. That will change the world. Forgiveness, knowing that they know not what they do because they're not conscious. They have programs that run them. They're not running themselves. They're running like a virus in a computer. So energy follows attention. Focus on similarity. That's the takeaway of number 2. Focus on similarity. How am I different to you? We already know. You can count the ways. Let's not focus on that. How am I the same as you? Last night, I was with Zach and a young lady we met. That her name's Emma. She's great. She's from Holland. And I went outside, and Cindy was there. I talked to Cindy's homeless. Cindy's matted hair, probably about 68 years old, little beard, big blue eyes. I go talk to her all the time. And what I'm working on for me, because I used to judge so much, and I catch myself still judging homeless people, broke people, because I worked so hard in my life not to be broke, because I was so afraid of broke. My family was broke. So I just don't want to be broke. I got to fight broke. I don't like broke. You represent the part of me I do not like. So I didn't like them. I give them attitude. And I realized that's me. When I lost all my money, I was Cindy. Now, I didn't have little cigarette butts, and I wasn't, I was nothing. I had nothing. I couldn't identify myself by millions or houses or cars or status or whatever. I was broke with nothing, living in a forest, washing pans. And I had a revelation that changed everything for me. And the revelation was, let me just show you this. This is poverty. this is wealth. My family grew up in poverty. And because my mom and dad fought all the time and were alcoholics, I hated it. It was dysfunctional. I did not feel love. My understanding as a child was that because we have no money, that is the problem. Because my friends in the neighborhood that had somewhat of money, they didn't seem to have problems like we did. And I kept hearing the conversations and the fights that we have no money to pay the bills. We have no money. These kids are expensive. So my belief was programmed as a little boy that no money equals unhappy. Even the Bible, they said, God said he doesn't like wealthy people. That's what they used in the church. So I ran from poverty to seek wealth. What I'm doing, and I did not know I was doing this, is I'm running from the fear of this to the pleasure of this. The problem is when we get this, which I did, I have money. Now I call myself wealthy, but my fear is still driving the boat. My fear is still the fact that yeah, I have money now, but my fear is actually that I'm going to lose the money. So if fear is our driving factor, it's going to destroy the journey. And a lot of religion is based on fear, a lot of dogma. So when I was at the ashram, what happened was this. I was having meditation experiences where I would have visions. And what I saw before me is it's almost like I went into this deep state of consciousness. And what opened up is the wealth that I've been chasing all my life, the wealth. It all opened up. I saw the money, the cars, the trips, the food, all this. And then I saw it disappear, like crumble on itself. And then I saw it actually show me the poverty of my life, the poor around the world, all the poverty. And I saw this as duality, separation, rich, poor, which we have right now in a big way. But then it showed me that these two illusions are the same. I cannot have wealth without having poverty, because once I'm running from one, then I'm fearful of the other. The other has to come. So what I had is a revelation that when I can accept my poverty and be happy in poverty, then when wealth comes like a wave, I can be happy in that too. But if it leaves, I don't have to be destroyed. That is the biggest lesson, the biggest takeaway I will tell you right now for me was the fact that when you learn that poverty and wealth are the same, it is just two extremes of the dualistic world we live in. Then you can become free by knowing it is not about money or no money. It is about who I am in that experience of money or no money. Does that make sense? So the third thing I want to tell you after focus on similarity is this, and I'm going to let you go. The essence of the container versus the contents. So I want you to focus on yourself as the container and not the contents. Focus on yourself as the container, not the contents. So as you move through your day, start to look at yourself and ask the question, as something happens today, what contents are coming into your life? And once you see it come in, a job promotion, a new business, a new client, money, maybe you got muscles, maybe whatever. Don't identify with that. Just look at it, observe it, and be okay with it as it is. Accept it as it is and accept yourself as you are. And once you're okay with the contents, but you know that's not you because you are indeed the container, and tomorrow some other contents will be in there, then you'll start to separate the real you from the ego relative part of you. So to wrap it up, consider putting a baby picture of you on your mirror, on your car, and anchor that to every time you see that baby of you, knowing that the real you came into this planet with great wonder, with no judgment, with amazing eyeballs to look at everything as a great movie, and you're part of all of this. You are one with it. You are not separate. Until the program kicked in, and then you started to see yourself as separate, and everybody else is different because they have a different belief, a different religion, a different color skin, a different sexuality, a different whatever. Start to anchor back and go up. Say, I'm not looking for the differences. I am looking for the similarities. When I see a black person, I don't see a black person. I see a human being. And when I look in their eyes, I want to see beyond that consciousness looking at itself. That black person is just like me, because it is me. And when you see a white person, look beyond the white and this white privilege and all this stuff people say. Let's look at the fact that those eyes looking at you is consciousness looking back on itself. When we start to look for the similarities, the blood is red that draws on everybody. Everybody has hopes and dreams. They want to be happy. They want to be free. They want to laugh and they want to play. They want to be strong and they want to be holding standards. They want to be, but the programs deceive us. So become the observer. Focus on similarity. Energy follows attention. Remember, the I am, whatever you put after that defines you. You are not that. You are the pot, the container. You are not the contents. And then remember that as you get up. Start your day. I'm going to give you one breath and then we're done. Sorry it's gone long, guys, but I hope you got value from this. One breath. Breathing is critical because breathing brings your consciousness into the moment from the future or the past. So I'm going to teach you a yogic breath. If you have a moment, breathe with me. So I want you to breathe in through your, let me come back to here real quick. So I want you to breathe in through your nose, deep breath. And then I want you to put your lips like they're pursed, like you're drinking through a coffee straw, and blow a steady stream of breath out. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, deeply, hold it, and then breathe out very slowly like you're blowing through a coffee straw. Let's try it together. Breathe in, out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep doing it. As you're doing this, notice how the breath is anchoring you to the moment. We take breathing for granted, and this is the only thing that within a few moments you're gone if you don't breathe. Breath is the life force. Keep breathing that way. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through softly pursed lips. And notice that as you inhale, there's always enough. There is no want abundance. There is no I need oxygen. It is always there, always enough. That is the truth. Abundance is in you. So prana fills your life. It animates your body. It serves you and feeds your cells. And then when you exhale it, everything that does not serve you is giving. You're giving it away to the universe. What's the plants breathe in? They need that from you. The breath you give gives life to the plants. The plants breathe out and give life to us. It is a symbiotic connection of all living things in harmony. Human beings destroy this with our egoic mind, thinking that we know when we don't know. If we knew, we would say we don't know. So the more I learn, the more I don't know, the more I know that I don't know. So anyway, I hope this breath anchors you to this moment. Anytime in the day you're feeling stressed, you want to come back to presence, you want to come back to that container, take just a minute, do 5 breaths, 10 breaths, and you'll feel a presence in your body of comfort, connection, and awareness. It'll change your game. So I thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to be having an actual webinar coming up on Zoom. I will let you know. And it will be a deep webinar as well. We're going to go deeper. I'll let you know about that. If you'd like to be part of that, let me know below. Please like this, share this if somebody needs it. I appreciate you being here. And I hope this gives you some great value. Please share your biggest takeaways below. I would love to hear what you gained out of this. And I appreciate you all so much for allowing me to spend a little bit of time with you today. And I am going to end with a sign off. Much love to you guys.